I just sat down to do this, and my neighbor decided it was a good time to mow his grass, which, sure. I have very small pockets of energy today, and so this has got to happen. Now, if it's going to happen at all, why do I have so little energy? Well, first, chronic illness, so that's given, but look at this. I put this together. Oh my gosh. I'm so excited to fill it up. I'm still doing some moving around. The bed used to be right here. That's over there. There used to be a dresser in this room. That's out of here. And so I will, once it's all ready, I will definitely give a full bookshelf tour, because I know I love watching those, so hopefully you'll enjoy it as well. Right now though, it's just a sneak peek, but I thought I'd try this angle, the lighting, kind of see what's going on. My hair's all over the place because, again, small pockets of energy today, because I did all the furniture moving over the weekend. I wanted to talk with you about, can I try that again? I wanted to talk to you about some books that I was thinking about that I would really love if I could read again for the first time. You know what I mean? Like that first initial feeling as you go through the book, and you're, you know, whether it's reveals or beautiful language that makes you feel something, just all the warm and fuzzies, or all the shock and terror, you know, all the things. And so I was thinking about it and looking at my shelves, and because right now it's still, they're kind of all around, but I was able to find a few that I'd like to talk about. I would say just to start off, any good mystery or thriller that I gave 5 stars to, it's probably because at the end of it, it just leaves you gasping because you didn't see it coming. I'm a mystery reader, thriller reader that likes to try and figure it out. It's just my personality. I have to see the clues. Okay, could it be this? Could it be that? And I feel like I'm a pretty good judge of character. As I've said before, I've studied psychology. So could it potentially, I've studied psychology and literature, so maybe have some ins and outs of it. But yeah, let's talk about some that left me just in awe, short of breath, speechless, all the things. And I will say, I do plan to reread these, but once you know how it ends, I think it definitely changes the perspective you read it the second time around. The first one I want to talk about is When the Reckoning Comes by Latanya McQueen. I meant to look this up. I think this is considered horror. There were definitely some parts in it that could be on the horror side. It was definitely a thriller. And it compares it to the back, which even reading it, I don't know if I had read that on the back or not, but it compares, it's compared to Kindred by Octavia E. Butler, and I would totally agree with that. And in fact, it's the blurb that says, "This is a novel like Octavia Butler's Kindred that reminds its readers that as long as people don't acknowledge how much of the past still shapes the present, it will bring its whips, its hatchets, and its fists to make us learn." And that's by Megan Giddings, and she wrote Lakewood, which was also one of those books that left me like, what? This looks at Mira, who fled her small segregated hometown in the South. She wanted to distance herself from it. She is invited back to attend her friend's wedding, which is on a plantation. And yeah, I can't, it's really thin. Can't share too much about it. It definitely, the feelings that I got from this were frustration, being furious, scared, yeah, absolutely. Just very real depictions of things that have happened in the past in the US history, and as if you're there with the character. And you'll hear me say that about all of these, probably several of these on my list, because for me, it takes a specific kind of language, and I don't know how else to describe it. It just makes you feel like you're in the moment, you're right there in the scene, feeling everything that the main character is feeling, or whatever character is in that scene. You want to run in and stop it if it's some kind of abuse or torture, or you want to, you know, if it's something heartbreaking, you want to get in there and give everybody a hug, or you're crying with it. This is definitely a book that leaves you gasping. It leaves you infuriated, as Octavia Butler's Kindred does. So highly recommend this. It's When the Reckoning Comes by Latanya McQueen. If you like thrillers on the edge of horror, I would definitely read that one. I will say this is the first time I've done a video in a rolling chair, and I'm bad about moving around. This is a book that was my mom's, and I always wondered why they didn't have covers on them. These are pocket, what do they call them? Pocket books. And for some reason, I don't know if she borrowed this and never gave it back, but I inherited it, so don't come for me. This is The Murder of Roger Ackroyd by Agatha Christie. And I have a number of Agatha Christie books that my mom passed down to me. I love a good Agatha mystery. She's really good at getting to the last page and just saying, what? How did that just happen? And this, out of the ones I've read maybe a handful of Agatha Christie books so far. I've got plenty more to read that, you know, I've got a good stack that I own. This one was just, yeah, it was a, and it's definitely, I think, you know, it depends on the reader. I've heard people say that they read this book and they knew pretty much from the beginning who done it. I did not. I did not know who did it until the last page, and I'm not upset about that. I'm not upset I was wrong. I absolutely loved this book. So this one takes place in a peaceful English village, which I feel like most of Agatha Christie's do. They were stunned. First, the attractive widow Ferrars died from an overdose of Veronal. Not 24 hours later, Roger Ackroyd, the man she had planned to marry, was murdered. It was a baffling, complex case involving blackmail, suicide, and violent death. A case that taxed all Hercule Poirot's little gray cells before he reached one of the most startling conclusions of his fabled career. And I would totally agree. It was completely startling. This is The Murder of Roger Ackroyd by Agatha Christie. If you've read this, let me know. Did you guess ahead of time or did you wait? Did you get it wrong? Let me know. We're gonna keep it on the mystery phase. Now, one of my favorite mystery authors is Alice Feeney. I adore Alice Feeney. Two of her books, which I know this is not how everyone feels. Some people think they're horrible and some people think they're the best thing ever. Rock, Paper, Scissors. Absolutely loved this book. Loved it, loved it, loved it. It's very atmospheric. Takes place in a snowstorm and you really do feel like it's gold. It definitely had me on the wrong side. When you start to empathize with a character and you can't think they possibly did anything wrong. And maybe they did, maybe they didn't. But as it goes on, you start to question yourself. Like, is this the person I'm supposed to be rooting for? Or what is even happening here? You think you know, but you don't. This involves a husband and wife, and they are kind of having trouble in their marriage. So they go to this house in the mountains, and they get snowed in. And it's just creepy. It's creepy. It makes you question, I don't know, it makes you question sometimes things in your own life. Could this actually happen to anyone? Is it happening to people? And then the end is just like, what? What was that? So very good, very good. My other Alice Feeney that, again, people love, others don't. We now have a plane going overhead. Lawnmower stopped, now there's a plane going overhead. Daisy Darker. I love Daisy Darker, and I've heard other people say that they knew from the beginning what was going on, and I feel like I had a little bit of a clue, maybe what could have been going on. And I was like maybe an eighth right. There was so much more to it that I did not know. This is about a family, the Darker family, and they are going to this house for their grandmother's 90th birthday, 80th birthday. And it's a house that when the tide is low, you can get to by a little inland kind of, what am I trying to say? When the tide comes in, they're cut off from the rest of the world. So just a little sand barge type thing. And then when the tide comes in, it covers it so they can't leave. Someone's murdered. There's a lot, it goes into a lot of the family background, of course, and who did what to who and who likes who and who just wants to forget about the whole family. And there are a couple of other characters that are involved, neighbors, things like that. This book, I think I read in one sitting or two sittings. And I usually am not scared by books, like to the point where I can't sleep. Pretty sure I slept very few hours when I was reading this. And both of these Alice Feeney books, and maybe this is the thing that I need to be looking at, is these are isolated thrillers. They're in an isolated area. Those seem to be the ones of Alice Feeney's that I love the most. So then I thought, is it only thrillers that I wish I could read again? And it's not. Everyone who likes Jane Austen seems to like Pride and Prejudice the best. I do not. I like Persuasion the best. Maybe it's because Pride and Prejudice has been so hyped for all these years. But Persuasion is my favorite. I feel like the way that Jane Austen writes her characters, even Pride and Prejudice, and my less favorite, Sense and Sensibility, she writes the characters in a way where you could imagine being like one of their friends, having a conversation with them. In Persuasion, I definitely felt like I was in the main character's head. And it's not a typical love story. It's really, it's about lost love and other people having their influence over it. I feel like it's people pleasing, societal expectations, which is a lot of the themes of Jane Austen. This is just done in a different way. For me, I found Pride and Prejudice and Sense and Sensibility very similar. And this one really just, I don't know. People talk about Mr. Darcy, and I can see it. For me, it's Captain Wentworth. It's Captain Wentworth, really. It is. That's just how I feel. The next one I want to talk about is one I read years ago. I've actually not reread it in a while. And that is Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. If you said to me dystopian, I would have said, a couple years ago, I would have said, don't want it, don't want to read dystopian, I'm not going to get it. Like I'm a very realist person. I need real time. This was written in, I think, 2014. I think I probably read it in 2016, 17, somewhere around there. And it basically, the effect of this made me, like, it had a long lasting effect because it starts with an illness. And I read it the first time, as I said, I read it probably 2016, and I reread it in 2020 because we had an illness that spread. And the fear that this book elicits for the reader, I think, is just, it used to be, oh, that would never happen, that would never happen. Now we're one step away from it. There's another book that a lot of people talk about loving. Now I'm not even gonna remember. I know it's The Road. I'll put the author's name down below. And that is a dystopian novel as well that I read and I think I gave it like 3 stars. It didn't impact me the same way. And I think part of it is just the writing. I've read other works by Emily St. John Mandel, and it's just her writing really is real. It puts you in the scene. It makes you feel this claustrophobia that some of the characters were feeling. It makes you feel that fear of what might come next. I don't know what's going to come next. The fear of knowing, you know, if you pass a person walking on a street, is it a friend or foe? And it's that realness that brings you into it, where you're reading it like on the edge of your seat, is just, to me, it's just beautiful writing, and very, just in the moment of, do I want to turn the page or not? Like I said, it gave me those feelings the first time I read it, for sure. One of my favorite books of all time, absolutely. Reading this after the pandemic was, I think it was still impactful, but in a completely different way, because it was so much more real. So I'm curious if people read this. Did you read it before the pandemic or after? And kind of what was your take on it? I really do want to read it again. Actually, so the last one I want to talk about is one that I have gushed about, but I realized I hadn't really sat down with the book and given you a full review of it. And that is Let Us Descend by Jesmyn Ward. This was my favorite book of last year, and I did not have a booktube channel yet, so I had not talked about it. This book talks about one of the darkest, most oppressive times in U.S. history, slavery. And does what I've been talking about. It puts you in the moment with the person who wasn't seen as a person. They were seen as property, right? And it makes you feel the times that they're, you know, walking through the woods chained together, or this is the opening line. Is the first weapon I ever held was my mother's hand. That is, first of all, one of the best first lines I've ever read from a book. And the way that Jesmyn Ward takes you into the main character's experience, and you feel everything. And this had me gasping for air. This had me wanting to fight, just literally wanting to slap someone. It's just so real. And this follows the daughter. Her name is Anise. She is basically the result of her owner, the master of the plantation, raped her mother, and she is the result of that. And it was very common practice that when a slave maybe started to cause problems, or got too old, or for whatever reason, and sometimes no reason whatsoever, a slave owner would sell them. And Anise's mother is very aware of that. And from the time Anise is very young, she prepares her for that. And this book takes us through Anise's life, through loss and heartbreak and just fearful times and near-death experiences, and just the way that Jesmyn Ward writes it, you're in those moments with Anise, with some of the other characters, but mostly Anise, and that's just the abuse that she deals with. It definitely had me tearing up, definitely had, at the end of it, I needed just some time. This is definitely one of those books, after you read it, you just need time to sit with it, to digest it, and really just let it completely sink in to your bones. That's really what this book does, and I would really encourage more people to read it. For a lot of people say it's on their TBR. Read this. I had never read Jesmyn Ward before. I definitely had seen her writing, or her books. I'd seen her books everywhere. I owned, at the time that I read this, I already owned Sing Unburied Sing. Since then, I've gotten Salvage the Bones and Where the Line Bleeds, that I have on my TBR. I definitely want to read all of Jesmyn Ward's writing, and yeah, this is so masterful. So there you have it. Those are the books that I wish I could read again, and I really wish, I wish I could read them again for the first time, get that first feeling. I want to read these a second time. I've read Persuasion and Station 11 more than once. I definitely want to reread the others and kind of see, especially with the thrillers, do I see some of the clues that I missed the first time around? So these are mine, just some of mine that I could think of. What are yours? What are some books that you wish you could read again for the first time? Put them in the comments. I'd love to know. I really appreciate you watching, and if you like this content, please click like and subscribe, and I will see you again very soon. Bye.